Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Very pleased to have my co-host back again this week, Mr. Tate. I've got the Gator version on of the mask this week, Mathews. Tate, we have 1 week in the books for football, other sports getting cranked up. We got a lot to talk about this week.
A lot to talk about, excited, got the Gator. I kind of like this one better. I have a problem.
It's more versatile.
Well, it's more versatile, and I forget to get my mask out of the car, and I walk into Walgreens, and I can tell by the looks I'm getting and the people in line that I don't have a mask on. I got to go back. You just keep this one up under your neck.
It's nice.
Ready to go.
Didn't Coach Crawford, he's got his guys doing that, right?
He loves it. I love that Gator. You know, you get out there and you got it up over your nose, but you got to dress the whole team. You just pull it down a little bit, and then you pull it back up, and it's versatile. It's a lot like Walker Merrill. It's versatile.
Coach Crawford, before we talk football.
Love Coach Crawford.
Love Coach Crawford. Volleyball. Let's talk a little volleyball. Just in case anybody thought Brentwood had a chink in the armor. What did they do this past week? They absolutely go out, and I was actually surprised at this. They dominated Nolensville. 3 straight, something like 25-17, 25-16, 25-12. And then what else did they do? Big rival, another mid-state powerhouse, Siegel, take care of them in 4 sets. So if anybody's thinking that Brentwood may have a chink in the armor, and who does? I don't think anybody really thinks that.
No.
But just in case you did, not so fast, right?
No, that question was answered. I think the biggest thing is, we talked about it a long time last week, no reason to go down that path again. I think we all think that Nolensville is going to glide through AA. I think that just showed you the difference in AAA and AA. I thought they'd go over there and steal a game, maybe. Holy smokes. Brentwood laid the smack down. And that's nothing against Nolensville. That's just how good Brentwood is. And that's the other thing I love, too. You're one of those guys, nice in front of the camera and all that. I would have loved to have heard Coach Campbell's pre-game locker room speech. I bet the message was, we're going to send a message. You think so?
I think so too. And talking about Nolensville, what else did they do last week? They go out and dominate Spring Hill 3-0. And that's what they need to be doing. Coach Young, great job scheduling, and I believe they play again.
Oh, they do.
I think that's right.
And they got Ravenwood as well. And
I do think it'll be closer next time.
I don't know, man.
Maybe because it's got to be closer, right? I mean, that was. I'm telling you, I was surprised because I actually went out to watch, and I will admit this. Sometimes when you go out and watch volleyball, it gets started a little bit late. So I knew they started at 6 o'clock, so I rolled in 6:30, thinking, okay, it's going to be no problem. I'm going to be here another hour and a half watching this great volleyball, and it was like cruising right along. I was very surprised, very surprised.
Yeah, and again, no knock on Nolensville. That's just how good Brentwood is.
Soccer, first week of action, Independence. I thought this was really told the story maybe as much as anything in our league. Independence, I think most would say they're going to fall somewhere 3rd or 4th in the league. They defeat Hendersonville 1-0, and Hendersonville, now Coach Plummer's gone. He resigned, retired last year. Maybe there's a reason, right?
Very, very good.
But 1-0 win over Hendersonville, that's no slouch at all.
No, that's a big win. That's a state tournament team or a state tournament caliber team. And so, yes, if you're Independence and Coach Cordero, you got to feel really good about that. And that goes to show this is going to be a tight race. I think you're right. Got to think Brentwood and Ravenwood are 1-2, 2-1, whatever. But Independence, that game right there raised some eyebrows. Franklin, Independence plans on being at this thing. They want to go to Murfreesboro. That's a good win, really good win.
Golf, Franklin with the win over Centennial on the boys and girls side. Couple of sophomores for Franklin we're going to be talking about. On the boys side, Eli Cleveland shoots a 37 to lead the Admirals.
The Admirals.
And Sophia DePaulo, also a sophomore, who, by the way, she not only shot a 37 this past weekend, she won, not the high school event, but she was the winner of the Sneds Tour Elite Series event. Believe me, that's big time. And the Sneds, named after?
Brant Snedeker.
Yes. So big win. Nolensville, by the way, good wins for Nolensville. They defeated Franklin, boys and girls. So Nolensville making a move
for
in golf.
Team. Yeah,
team
strong.
wins on both sides.
Look out, Directors Cup. Nolo plans on taking it home again this year.
I think they do. Good start for them. Cross country, the Bruin Invitational. Now, I was told this they didn't have an official timing system, but they wanted an opportunity for folks to compete. They had 6 schools, 293 runners, 13 total heats, 4.5 hours. So what they're doing, staggering times. Just so folks, and we're not grouped up, and you've ever seen a cross country meet, I mean, they are piled up.
At the beginning.
So, yeah, so they, right. And then Miss Walters from Page says, see you guys later, and it's over. But I thought that was great on their part to do that. I know it took a lot of hard work to pull that off this past weekend.
Yeah, and that's another one, like all of our events, but those meets can't go on without a lot of volunteers, so, you know, we're always grateful to them, but thank you. That's a long day. I'm sure they had a lot of people that put in, but that's a neat deal.
One final note here before we move on to our football recaps. Classification changes this past week. So now in baseball, basketball, and softball, all going to 4 classes. Obviously, we had 3 before. You and I have talked about it a little bit. But what are your thoughts about that moving to 4 classes in those particular sports? Just be honest here, because I'm going to be.
Yeah, I struggle with it, man. You know, I wish there were some things that we could do to, I don't know. I feel like we're trying to make up for some things that we could solve on the other side. You know, I just, you know, back in the day, there was 3 classifications. You know, there was no public-private split. There was 3 classifications. You won one of those, you were king of the mountain.
Yeah.
Wrestling was, everybody was together. Now there's a 189 state champion and a private one. You know, so I'm all about kids, but I don't know. I just think it's too watered down. I'll give you an example, my prime example. Don't take anything away from Alcoa, okay? But if there's not 6 football classifications, Alcoa does not win 15 out of the last 17. It just doesn't happen. So I don't know. I think it's too many. I would have voted no.
I would have liked us to stay 3 and actually gone down to 5 in football.
Me too.
I think what happens too, and I don't really, I've always said this wasn't a fair comparison. A lot of my basketball counterparts have always said, well, football has 6. That's not fair to us. We've only got 3. And I always have to remind them, football has 22 starters.
Right.
Basketball has 5.
Right.
So if you're a school that's got 2 or 3 good players, you can compete with anyone. I'm with you. I think it's a little watered down. I do think it ends up being more championships for WCS. Maybe that's a good thing. But I think something that people don't look at all the time. If we're going to 4 classes, the districts are going to be smaller.
Right.
If the districts are going to be smaller, there's going to have to be more scheduling outside of the district. There are some schools who will not play you because you're better than them.
That's right.
So now what's going to happen, you're going to have all these schools have to travel more. I just think there's some negatives that people don't think about.
Right.
And the other thing I've always told the basketball folks, and again, I was in the minority on this, is if we're so adamant about it being the same, why don't we send 2 teams to the regional tournament like baseball does and like softball does and like the other sports do? Yeah, and then but I'm just saying, a lot of times coaches say, no, whoa, we want more classes, but we still want 4 teams to make it.
Right.
So, we're going to go with it. We're going to do well. We're going to support. I just think there's some negatives that maybe folks aren't thinking about.
100%. And what you're going to see is, you know it, AAA, not so much, but we already see in the AA some just bloodlettings in the state tournament. I don't know how you can't think that there's too many teams when you have teams getting run ruled or beat by 30 in the state tournament. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's just going to be even more now. But, hey, I'm sure if my kid's one of the ones that gets to go, I'd be for it too. I'm all about the kids. I just wish there's some unlevel playing fields in what we've got in the 3 right now. I wish they would have tried to have fixed some of that and then add another class, but they didn't ask me.
Well said. School administration, by the way, when we talk about these recaps, I went to the Independence Summit game, and I had some other folks that attended some other games that were checking in with me to see how this went. Students, parents, community, I think we did a good job in terms of trying to do what we're supposed to do. TSSAA has required that you have to have masks. Apparently, there's some schools across the state that didn't get the memo. And kids are going to be kids.
And they are documented on Twitter.
Kids are going to be kids. They're going to pull down masks and do some things. But in some cases, it's pretty obvious that maybe the administration at those schools definitely turned a blind eye to it. But I will say this too, in fairness, because we get people send pictures in and some things saying, hey, this doesn't look good. I purposely did this. I found a couple of cases there at Independence the other night where I knew it was fine, the way people were spread out, and I took a picture. The picture didn't look good. But one thing you can't deny is no one having masks on. So we're going to do what we're supposed to do. And I'll tell you this, for those of you that may be out there that are trying to be on the no mask, no social distancing patrol, what you do is you risk A, us not playing, or B, you not being there. So I would say, take heed. Is that the correct use of that word?
Yes,
Mr. Producer?
I like it. Be careful what you wish for.
Be careful now, I'm telling you. You better take care of the social distancing and the wearing of the mask.
Or you're not going to be there.
Or you're not going to be there.
We're going to be like the bubble.
They say we're in the bubble here, so maybe.
There you go. Hey, but I'm with you. You're right. It was on Twitter. I think I'd tell those guys, hey man, you're not going to be invited back if you take a picture of it. But you're right. There were some pictures circulating. I think you're probably talking about the one from Thursday night. Like, it was a regular student body.
I'm thinking there was a TV game maybe that didn't look great too.
I think y'all did a great job of it.
Well, I hope so. And we're going to continue to try to fight that fight. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to try to get those corrected.
Man, I wore one Friday night. I didn't like it, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
That's what you got to do.
It's 2.5 hours of your life.
I did find out I need the 2 venter because of the glasses being fogged up.
Are you a Batman guy? Did it look like Bane from
No,
Dark
I'm not.
Knight?
No, I just want to be able to walk around and not be fogged up. So I've got to work on that. All right, let's talk football now. The WCTV Game of the Week and the border battle did not disappoint. And before we get any further, Tate, I think we should go ahead and take a look at the plays of the week.
Plays.
Quickly back to the line are the Spartans, and kind of in the hurry up. Here's Wade again.
Yeah, this is a straight-up keeper. And that right there is going to be
He'll pop it outside, and Wade will waltz into the end zone. Touchdown, Summit. Wade again with 3 receivers to his right. Looks right.
Plenty of time.
Fires right. And
Wide
this
open.
time again.
He's got him.
That is
Number 13. I think that's Reed.
13 is Brady Pierce.
Brady Pierce, look at that.
28-12 as we tick down deep into the third quarter. 3 receivers right. Wade looking.
Man, plenty of time.
And he'll fire to
Plenty
his
of
left.
time.
This time, pass is caught
That's
again
King.
by King. Wrestles his way away from a couple of defenders,
On.
and he will have the touchdown, 40 yards.
Wow.
Wade again looking across the middle. He's got his man.
Leans
And
in.
touchdown, Summit. The scoreboard clock reads. Wade looking.
Right here. Don't force anything, Destin.
Rolls to his right, fires back to his left, and that one is caught.
Oh.
Touchdown, Summit. He'll take it himself and up the gut, and Wade will score.
Unbelievable.
Destin Wade from 8 yards out.
Destin Wade.
You know, there's something really brilliant in sometimes football coaches can overcomplicate it and try to be too smart. They got to prove their, prove how much they know and show what kind of system their play calling is. I thought Coach Coleman did an unbelievable job of calling plays the other night. There was a rhyme or reason and everything, but hey, you maybe have the best playmaker in the state playing quarterback for you. Let him be a playmaker. And he did that. And on that first one, I don't know if you noticed, I think that was the one when he came back into, was that the winning touchdown? I believe that one was. If you'll go back
Yeah, when
and
he came
watch,
back in, yes.
the left guard, Sam Jewell, 52, great job, pulled him out and kicked that number 10 out. If he doesn't do that, I don't know that we score. That was a great job. Matthew Mullins, Ty Garber, Cooper Cope, Ryan Smith, and Sam Jewell. When a guy goes for 507 total yards of offense, guess what? The big uglies up front had a great game. I know you had to give the game ball to Destin Wade, but if I was him, I'd have turned around and gave it to those guys. They played lights out.
That's great that you mentioned that group that, hey, they get things done and hardly ever get mentioned.
Yeah, and they know that, and that's
They
part
get
of
mentioned in
it.
those locker rooms, though.
That's right. But man, what a game! Think about that: 507 yards of total offense, 6 touchdowns, and this is against Independence, who we know is at least going to the second round of the playoffs, maybe further. Unbelievable performance. Got hurt, came back out. We've all talked about conditioning and all that. I don't know how many snaps he played, but it was a lot. That kid, he just never disappoints, man. And here's the neat thing. Little brother, in the last 5 games, little brother has now won 3 games. I don't think they're little brother anymore.
No, I don't think so either. What a great atmosphere too, even though had about a third of the expected crowd or typical crowd out there. And Destin, you mentioned his 500 yards. Jackson Campbell also for Independence threw for about 300 yards, right? 297, I think it was. 16 of 28 passing. He was also dynamic on the feet as well. 130 yards. They both look like Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl or whatever he was on, where he could, you couldn't stop Bo Jackson. Was that Tecmo Bowl?
Oh yeah,
Tecmo Bowl that he could do that. Yeah. Or Cam
body right.
I mean, Destin looked like Cam Newton out there running around. But here's the gem of the week, by the way. 22 seconds left was the first time that Summit had the lead.
I know. I got back in my car and heard it. That's amazing, man. And you watch, if he stays healthy, which I'm sure he will, Jackson Campbell is going to have a monster year. We talked about it last week. Coach Blade was going to run with him, and he can. That kid is an athlete. Everybody I've talked to all week, since then, all weekend, the kid is a competitor, man. He can run. They're going to get more and more used to this offense and how to he's going to cause a lot of fits this year. He just happened to go up against a guy who was just as good, man. But think about that. 2 guys, it was over 1,000 yards of total offense. That's strong.
Incredible. And I think we've talked about last year, we kept mentioning the quality of the quarterbacks in this league. And we had some losses, right? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you.
Back.
Still strong. I mean, I know Ethan Cash obviously was great at Independence, but
he's different.
He's different. He's
causes
pretty dynamic now.
Think about that now. What'd you say he had? So he almost had 500 yards.
It's incredible.
It's his first game. That's his first game as a quarterback.
Looked very comfortable back there, to say the least.
And Coach Blade, he knows how to mismatch a man.
Well, he did a great job of play calling. I mean, who am I to judge? But I think I know enough to know he was doing a very nice job of play calling in that game. And I'm telling you, it did have the sense, last team to have the ball would win. And Independence gets the ball back, and they drive pretty deep.
They almost scored too quick.
They did. So if they'd had another 20 seconds, I feel like Independence may have scored again. But again, great game, 40-34. Summit comes out on top. Battle of 840, which, by the way, 5-5 the last 10 games.
I saw that.
5-5.
Neat.
Fairview comes out on top at Page, 18-3. They have a really good team, and it showed. And I know we always talk about, when you talk about Chris Hughes and Fairview, you talk about the offense. And again, I don't think Page is the same offense they were last year. But listen, this is a 3A team holding a 5A team at home to only 3 points.
Yeah, 0 touchdowns and, giving up 3 points, that's big. And I love this too. This game you picked it right.
Oh.
Yeah, you did. Did you go 5? You went 5-0.
It's early though. I'm not going to get too cocky here.
It's never the same. I know the weather played a factor in it, but 18-3. That's not. I don't think you thought. You picked Fairview to win. Did you think they were going to hold Page to 3 points?
No, I thought it'd be like 30-20.
Yeah. And so I love this game. I think it's fitting that it's 5-5. But you're right. Defense played lights out. I think it's very worth noting that Riley Bennett got his first start at quarterback for Fairview, and that's in the battle of 840. You get your first one. He's a
tough kid.
We talk about him, tough kid, man, and you can tell Coach Hughes likes having him as a leader because that guy will fight you. And then Nardozzi over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. He showed he hasn't lost a step at all.
Nardozzi, I think, with a good chance to be Mr. Football winner, obviously a semifinalist last year.
Hey, and we talked about it. I love the color rush. That was awesome.
Great. Looked great.
It looked great.
How about on defense? Layden Grant, 7 tackles, sack and a pass deflection. Brian Kuhn, 2 sacks. Bryce Fannin, interception, 6 tackles. Kyle King, 6 tackles. Again, when you talk about doesn't mean they don't pay attention to the defense. But usually when we're talking Fairview, we're talking all these gaudy offensive stats. Got to give it up to him. And Coach Hughes loves this team.
Yeah, I agree. You can tell. And he probably should.
By the way, Page, they celebrated, which I thought was a good move, they celebrated senior night because the next 3 games are actually on the road. So good move by Coach Rathbone and the group out there at Page High School. Obviously, they've got some work to do, but they'll get back on the horse. In fact, maybe this week. We'll talk about the game coming up here in a minute.
So wouldn't count them out.
Now let's talk about a couple of battles in WCS. Brentwood goes on the road, defeats Nolensville 47-12. And who said the offense at Brentwood couldn't be explosive? 23 points in the last 7 minutes of the half. They take a 33-0 lead at the break. Cade Granzow, 3 touchdowns passing, 1 touchdown running, 13 for 24, 183 yards, 9 carries, 62 yards. And then, again, with Brentwood, you don't see a lot of gaudy stats from receivers. Walker Merrill, 8 receptions, 108 yards, also had a touchdown. And I can assure you that Coach Crawford wasn't letting it all hang out in the second half. So those numbers really could have been pretty big in terms of the offensive numbers if they would have let it hang out a little bit longer, so to speak.
I think you summed it up perfectly, and that's what you're going to see from Granzow, those stats. One side note, talking to the Brentwood staff, they were at 13-24. That doesn't really, 13 of 24 doesn't really sit well with them because at least 4 to 5 drops where Cade put it right where it was supposed to be. Weather had something to do with that in first game jitters, but he was really well over 60, probably 70% if they catch the ball, and that's what you're going to see. If Cade's around 200 yards passing and 100 and something yards rushing, you're in trouble.
Tough to stop. You talk about that big body of Granzow all the time, and man, Nolensville found out. Definitely tough to stop. Samson Johnson for Nolensville.
Yes.
Touchdown run, and then Ryder Gallardi hooked up with Ben Coggins for a 76-yard touchdown in the second half. Again, after the half, 14-12. I'm sure Nolensville will try to build on that. And again, it was going to be a tough matchup. 6A versus 4A, but it's not like Cream Puff 6A. Not only are you playing 6A, you're playing one of the best around. So tough matchup for Nolensville. We knew that going in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same thing as what we talked about at the beginning of the show with volleyball. There's just, there's a big difference in a 6A and a 4A school, and so many of them are numbers. But one thing I think is important on Brentwood, everybody knows about Merrill, everybody knows about Granzow, but this is with John House, who you mentioned, and then Aaron Walton. They've got some. This is as skilled of an offense as they've had in a while. It's going to be fun to watch, man. I'm excited about this Friday. I like this Brentwood team.
I do too. Ravenwood, 48 at Centennial 0. 2-hour weather delay. And I'll tell you this, Ravenwood lost 27 seniors last year, and a lot of those guys big contributors. But I'll tell you right now, you wouldn't know it by the way they jumped out and performed. And give it up to Trevor Andrews. He's probably heard a lot. Not that this is a bad thing, but Brian Garcia, he's a 3-year starter. What does Andrews come out and do? Only plays one half. 9 for 13, 90 yards, and 3 touchdowns passing. Rushing, 6 carries, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Trevor Andrews era has started off pretty strongly. And again, I know he loved Garcia. Everybody loved Garcia, right?
Yeah, of course.
But at some point as a competitor, he's got to be thinking, I'm the quarterback now.
I'm pretty good too.
I'm the new sheriff in town. Did a great job.
Well, Coach Daniels said that in the paper. Said you're finding out pretty soon. Super competitive. I think and Coach Daniels has been trying to tell everybody for the past year, hey, it's never fun to lose a guy like Garcia, but I'm telling you, we're going to be a little bit different, but we're going to be dang good under Trevor Andrews. And it looks very Granzow-esque,
Yes, with his
which
size.
is it's hard to game plan for that. And Ross Johnston had a big game at wide receiver. It looks like they've already developed a nice chemistry with Garcia and Mason moving on. And, of course, you got Drago out there at tight end running a 4.540 or whatever he does. Think about that, man. What a matchup problem that is. I saw that last year. Like, if they can get him out there one-on-one with a backer or a safety, you don't stand a chance. I mean, seriously, one-on-one, you don't stand a chance.
Justin Smitherman, 14 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, no excuses for Centennial. They're young. Coach Kreisky won't be making any excuses. They were not only young but undersized. To me, get that game out of the way.
Yeah, and the rain delay didn't help.
Didn't help at all.
No excuses out of him. He wasn't happy about it. I know they met this weekend, and there was no excuses out of it. We got to get this fixed. He was not happy, but he knows he's young. And the great thing about football is it's over. they got to go back to the practice field today and start getting ready for the next one.
I don't know if you knew this, and again, there's all preseason, all that, but USA Today, come on, that's a pretty strong
big.
one, right? There are 2 players in the state of Tennessee. That's every class, that's public, that's private, who were listed on the All USA Today preseason team. By the way, they both happen to be Ravenwood players, and they were both on the first team.
That's pretty strong.
Brenning Stool and Junior Colson. So for those of you that maybe feel bad for Ravenwood, that to me this has got the feel, even though it's 1 game in. The last time they won it, the year before, was supposed to be the team.
Yep.
And what do they do? It's the next year. So don't count Ravenwood out.
By the way.
Right? Am I correct?
By the way, seriously, I didn't tell you this. I'm so glad you brought this up. I misspoke. And I have to remember when I said it sounded like Hester, and then they got put out, and then they went to the semis, got put out by Whitehaven. Coach Hester apparently still watches the show down in Florence, Alabama.
Great.
He sent me a nasty message
That
and said it was Blackman. He got beat by Jawan Jennings and Blackman. They used to go east. He did not get beat by Whitehaven, so I apologize. But I'm glad to know.
But it was right about the progression.
Yeah, it was.
Well, that's not that big a mistake. Come on, Coach Hester.
But I'm glad the Visor still watches it down there in Florence.
I am happy about that.
He said he's got to get his weekly Wilco WCS Sports Connection fix in. So glad to know we still got you as a viewer, Coach Hester. And thank you for the correction.
Yes, and no one a bigger fan of Coach Hester than Jeremy Qualls.
No, big fan.
Big fan.
And vice versa.
Vice versa. Franklin, 42. Siegel, 16. Franklin, 283 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. By committee, Bryce Sparks, 15 carries, 100 yards. DJ Durham, the senior, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ashton Orton, 7 carries, 76 yards. Connor Bevan, the quarterback, 5 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. I'm telling you, Coach Webb loves running the ball.
Loves it.
And, man, they've got some big uglies up front that you talked about. Franklin's going to be tough to deal with. I know Siegel's not exactly Oakland. Well, they won in 9 last year. But I'm telling you, impressive. It's going to be tough taking care of the Admirals this year, stopping them running the ball.
Yeah, that's the way they're going to do it. They're going to keep you off the field, wear you down, and that game could have been worse. But he subbed and got some.
And had some turnovers. They
Yes.
turned the ball over.
That's right, which I know he wasn't very happy about that. But, yeah, I mean, this is the way they're going to do it right there. That's the recipe for success. Going to spread it around, pound you, hold on to the ball. And but, yeah, and Siegel's not – you're right, they're not Oakland, but that guy's – he's brought some excitement to that program. And, I mean, they flat got after him. It's not like they, beat a dang 2A team, you know what I'm saying? They got after him. And it's a good win. Connor Bevan ran the offense well. If they'll take care of the turnovers, boys, I know there's a reason why people talk about it all the time. If you'll take care of the turnovers, I think you got a chance to have a really good season.
On the defensive side, Caleb Anderson, by the way, only a sophomore. 2 interceptions, 1 was a pick 6, and he is like big-time baseball player, maybe the best baseball player his age in the state of Tennessee. And then our man, who's a big fan of the show,
Yes, he is.
Taylor Sperto, also does a nice job for the Admirals on the basketball court. Had a scoop and score on a fumble, so congratulations to Taylor. Great job by Franklin starting off 1-0. All right, we got to go.
I got one thing. I got to say this real quick. Little side note. Going back to the Brentwood game, we forgot all about this. Tucker Day, which Day is there right now? He's the normal kicker. Okay, I forgot about this. He's not there right now because he's at AGTV, America's Got Talent.
Oh, that's right.
My man Tanner Weber, what does he do? The worst weather we've had in a long time. He comes out in the Brentwood game, goes 6 for 6 on extra points. I think 1 for 1 on a field goal, but kicked the field goal. And Coach Crawford will tell you, man, they got to tone him back a little bit. He's kicking off, and then he's heading down the field like he's the dang gunner trying to get somebody. Steve Tasker, man. We need like a Steve Tasker award. It was Tanner Weber this week. Good for you, man. That was awesome. You agree?
I agree. America's Got Talent, and they've got some talent still there at Brentwood, right?
100%.
All right, let's talk about this week's games. We got to go quick because, these early in the year, we're not quite on our game. We're going over our time limit, so let's preview these
Free
games.
football.
Brentwood, 1-0 taking on Brentwood Academy, also 1-0. They haven't played since 2002. We talk about Brentwood's win this past week. BA gets a win over Lipscomb Academy. What do you think about this game, Tate? Not picking yet, though.
Yeah, haven't played since 2002. That was Coach Crawford's first game as a Bruin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The Brentwood Academy Eagles came over, coached by the guy. The field's named after now Carlton Flat Field, but it was at Brentwood. I remember it. It's still, according to Mr. Kydell and Coach Blair, the biggest revenue ticket game ever in the history of Brentwood High.
That will not happen this year.
That will not happen this year, but it's not fair. They lost 17-14. That was back when Brentwood Academy was loaded now. That's when you knew Coach Crawford. It was awesome. They are, if anybody has a bigger offensive line than Franklin, it's Brentwood Academy. But, you know, gave up 19 points to Lipscomb Academy last week. We really like this Brentwood offense. I think this is a great game. I'm glad it's happening literally less than a half a mile apart. So it's going to be the battle of the line of scrimmage. Can Brentwood get them off the field, and can they protect Granzow? If they can, this would be the first win ever over BA for Brentwood.
Centennial 0-1 at Smyrna 0-1. Centennial won this matchup last year. I talk about this one all the time about, hey, look, Smyrna, Rutherford County, Centennial didn't make the playoffs. Williamson County, I realize Smyrna is in a little different league. We talked about that last week. Smyrna lost 42-7 last week to Pope John Paul. Fairview, you may not know this. This may be breaking news, by the way. It won't be breaking news by the time the show goes on. They're supposed to play East Hickman, who had a win last week over Perry County. They've canceled.
Oh, boy, I did not know that.
COVID cases, some injuries. They informed Fairview, hey, we can't play. So Fairview, as we speak, trying to find a game this week.
Wow.
It's going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Well, and it doesn't help because Coach Hughes would have had the 40-foot Donzie fired up, boat captain hat on, had that game happen. That one would have been.
So we really can't pick that one in a minute.
No.
What to pick it offline?
Offline.
If they win and if they get an opponent.
We can have an addendum.
Franklin 1-0 at Riverdale 0-1. Riverdale dropped their game last week to CPA 20-7. Independence taking on CPA. Now, I'll say this about it. To me, this game last year was the one. I know CPA maybe had some injuries early in the season, but Independence, after they got really beat pretty soundly by Summit, I think folks were thinking, Independence is going to struggle. This was the get well week last week for Independence, and they went on to have a really good season. I remember that was kind of a surprise win, thinking about that Blackman game too, when they just absolutely dominated Blackman. So this is an interesting matchup that I'm paying very close attention to.
Oh, 100%. I think it's one of the – we've got some really good games this year. This is one of them. I mean, this week. And it's different this year. CPA's defense is much better, but they're still trying to figure themselves out offensively. So, and like I said, I was at that game last year. They won the game by spreading it out and let Ethan Cash run, beat them with their legs. Well, this guy can super run with Jackson Campbell, so it's going to be fun to watch. But the CPA defense is much better this year. Offense is a little bit down. That's a good game right there.
Nolensville 0-1 at 1-0 Watertown. Now, they played Gordonsville 14-7, not exactly like playing Brentwood, so the records are definitely not maybe a reality of what kind of teams they have right now. Page 0-1 at 0-1 Siegel. Again, I think much like that independent CPA game, that'll tell us a lot. And then finally, the final two games, Ravenwood 1-0 versus Blackman 0-1. Summit 1-0 taking on poor Spring Hill 0-1, because I'll go ahead and tell you before we get to pick'ems, Spring Hill's going to get absolutely dominated by Summit.
Not good.
Not
looking good.
Get your hat ready here in just a second. Okay, by the way, last week's picks. I want to go ahead and tell how the standings went. Mr. Qualls, 3-2 to start the season. The fans were 4-1. Mr. Tate Mathews was also 4-1. And on the strength of the Fairview game,
no doubt,
I started off 5-0. Not many undefeated weeks for me, so I'm pretty proud of my little 5-0 that no
strong.
one else was able to do.
Coach Hughes and the Yellow Jackets, they came through for you.
And they've sent me some messages. Said, hey, you let Tate know.
Oh, Coach Hughes let me know.
It's funny how they do that. That's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. This
I don't blame them.
All right, by the way, and I know they'll put this up on the screen, but fans keep voting on Twitter at WCS CO Athletics. And hey, to give you an idea, I went back and looked at this. The Brentwood-Nolensville game had 391 votes.
That's awesome.
That's pretty strong now.
Did you see the back and forth between the student
I
sections?
did. It's great. All right, it's time for pick'ems. I'm going to start. Brentwood versus Brentwood Academy. You kidding? I'm not picking against WCS against the
But
local
what do you really think?
Brentwood.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to tell you this. I think it's double digits Brentwood. Let's say Brentwood Academy. Let's don't act like the private school division is as deep. That's my opinion. In fact, I think it's just the truth. They didn't make the playoffs last year.
Correct.
Brentwood, double-digit win at home over Brentwood Academy.
Wow. It's big. I think Brentwood wins too. I'm not willing to go out double digits. I hope Coach Crawford doesn't see that. He's not going to like that. But I think Brentwood wins. I think they get the first win over them. Coach Cody White will not be in attendance. I had a question. Will Cody be able to coach the game via Zoom? My answer was, if Hugh Freeze can coach from a hospital bed in a closet in the press box, laying down like mankind coming down to SummerSlam, then I think Cody White can Zoom. It doesn't matter. Coach Crawford's ready. Granzow and the boys are ready. Double digits, I don't know. First win in school history, the Bruins.
Centennial at Smyrna, your pick.
I don't know, man. This is tough. I think they're in the same boat. Both of these guys desperately need a win. I think Centennial gets the win, but this could be a low-scoring affair.
Centennial. I'm picking Centennial. Fairview. Well, they're not playing East segment, so that one's
It
out.
would have been Boat. It would have been Boat
Yes.
Race City.
Franklin at Riverdale. Now, I went back and looked last year, 34-10 Riverdale. A year makes a big difference. Riverdale dropped their game, I think, 20-7 to CPA last week. I'm going Franklin to keep it rolling.
I'm going Franklin too, but this is going to be neat. Riverdale got beat by CPA 20-7. One of those was a fumble in the end zone, recovered for a touchdown. So that's not on the defense. The strength of this Riverdale team is their front seven on defense. We think, pretty sure, the strength of the Franklin team is the offensive line. Low scoring affair, but I think the doctor of defense and the Admirals go 2-0.
Independence versus CPA. What say you, Mr. Mathews?
I picked CPA last year, and Coach Blade and Mr. Cash made me look wrong. I think it's going to be a close game. This CPA defense, haven't seen them last week. They're really, really good. Jackson Campbell continues to get better as a quarterback, but I think the Lions win, but I think it's close.
Independence.
You were right last year.
I'm going Independence. Nolensville, Watertown.
Nolo.
Nolo.
And they need it too.
They need it. Here's an interesting one. I'm going to let you go first on this one. Page at Siegel. Both 0-1. Siegel absolutely dominated by Franklin last week. They were 1-9. I know they've got a coach that you like. Getting that program rolling again. I'm telling you, this is a big game for them.
It's a big game. It's tough. I forgot about how many seniors Page lost last year. I mean, I knew they lost Cade Walker and some really strong guys. I just don't know. I think this is a pick 'em. So that being said, I know where you're going to go. We got to change it up a little bit. I'll go with Siegel, but I don't feel good about it.
I'm going Page, of course. Ravenwood, Blackman, come on. Last year now, I thought it was going to be a domination. It was 16-13.
Let me tell you something.
They dominate this year.
I think it's Boat Race City, man. I think it's Boat Race City.
Well, where's your hat? Oh, Captain, my captain.
I think Coach Daniels is going to be rolling up back into the 37027 with his boat captain. Throttle down, baby. Mr. Andrews, he's going to get at least 3 quarters this week. After 2 weeks, Mr. Andrews will have 10 total touchdowns.
And by the way, I think you can leave your hat on for the next pick.
Oh, my gosh.
And what game's that?
I don't know if you remember this. Go back to some quals. Summit Spring Hill. Mr. Wade is eating popcorn in the 3rd quarter. He's sitting over there with Coach Kirby. Hey, Coach, you want some popcorn? Because he's already got the shoulder pads off.
Spring Hill, I know they like to think that this is a rivalry like Summit, Indy. Don't think so. Not when you're getting dominated like they're going to. They'll roll.
Affirmative.
All right, Mr. Captain Mathews.
It's been fun.
Reminds me of like Captain Steubing of the Love Boat, right?
I hope not.
Tate, always great to have you in for the show. I'm
Yep.
excited about us getting rolling. Let's
love
keep
it.
it rolling.
I love it. Hey, week 1 went off without a hitch, it seems like. Let's do it again, and it's exciting. I don't know anybody who didn't have a great time on Tuesday. Go fan, get on there and get your tickets early.
You better. You better.
Do you know where you're going yet, or is that to be determined?
To be determined. I may float around a little bit this week. We'll
love
see.
it.
Not on my
be
boat,
fun.
but I'm
Admiral joins. I can't wait to see the new logo. You know, I'm an admiral. My freshman year and half my sophomore year, I was a Farragut admiral.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this.
That's right.
Tate, always good to see you.
Yes, sir. Can't wait to be back.
Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next time on Sports Connection.